How many of you have ever seen a warning light come on in your car and you ignored it? What if the warning lights in life work the same way as the warning lights in our cars? In this video, what I want to do is unpack for you why a lot of times we ignore the dashboard lights, why we drive till we drop, and how one powerful move can change everything. In February of 2020, I was driving back from New England to Pennsylvania. And about halfway through my drive, the yellow warning light comes on about the tire pressure. Now, normally, I totally ignore those lights, kind of like the speed limit. But since it was a longer ride, I said, that's probably not too safe. So luckily, my husband's following me. And so I ring him on the phone, tell him what's going on. He says, pull over at the next exit. I've got a tire pump and we'll give you some air to get it home. I thought, great. So we pull over onto the exit and we get out of the cars. And my husband goes over and looks at the tire and goes to the back of the car and he looks at it and he stares at it like as if he's fallen onto a crime scene. I said, what are you doing? I thought you were going to pump the tire. He goes to me, Rhonda, what were you doing? Victory burnouts in the parking lot? I said, huh? And then I looked. He said, these tires are completely bald. There's wires hanging out of them. He said, didn't you feel anything when you were driving it? And I said, well, on the way up, the back end of the car did kind of whip to the right and the left, but I just thought I hit black ice. He said, did you hit anything? Ooh, and now I'm really feeling embarrassed. And I had to think, and I said, well, yeah, actually 2 weeks ago when I was driving on 287, I fell into like a crater pothole, made a big loud thump, but no warning light came on in the car, so I just kept going. I thought it was fine. Well, I wasn't fine. I had been driving that car for 2 weeks with suspension damage. In fact, this is what my tire looked like. Both of them, totally bald. And when that happened, I had to stop and think, and I had an epiphany. And I said to myself, this just is not a this is just not happening from driving cars and not paying attention. This happens to me in life. It's happened to me in relationships. It's happened to me and with my career, with leading people, leading myself. And I realized that the problem wasn't the reaction, wasn't the warning light itself. It was my reaction to the warning light. And here's what I noticed. The reaction that you can have, any of us can have, when something happens is we can think worst case scenario or best case scenario. And when we go over onto the identity of operating our lives from worst case scenario, we put fear as fuel into the engine, and it makes us want to go fast because what we're doing is driving away from something we don't want to deal with. And we think we don't have any time to stop. And so the pattern runs like this. We have a warning light go off, something outside of us. We think worst case scenario. We get fueled by fear. A lot of times we go into performance mode, rescue mode, control mode, you name it, whatever. But we're operating not from clarity or alignment, but we're operating from fear. And that performer identity is what burns us out, because it's not that something happened that's bad. It's the amount of momentum and energy that we're putting into that thinking that it's worst case scenario. And then we totally burn out, the wheels burn out, And then we take the time, at least me, I would take the time to reset. And then when I would reset and really do some deep introspection on, am I aligned with my purpose and values? Then I would get back up off the ground and go at it again. But I kept doing it because I wasn't realizing that my mental habitual thinking was going to worst case scenario instead of best case scenario. Now, when I go, there is another way. When I go on to best case scenario, I show up authentically as me in a very calm and present attitude. And I connect really well with people when I'm in a calm state. Because in connection, you are not putting on a show. You have a lot of autonomy. You have a lot of confidence. You believe in yourself. You're thinking about best case scenario. Well, I've done this before and I can create something and figure this out because I've figured out worst case scenarios than, a lot more worse than this. So let's just calm down and think. So I said to myself, you can't keep living like this, because fear, what's the difference in the emotion? So I can detect this fear, this identity, and choose to be my other identity and not be blowing out tires and then, finally deciding to do a reset. And so it came to me that fear pushes me and causes me to run away while love pulls me. Because when I'm in alignment with my purpose and my values, I run towards something because it has greater meaning. Fear wants me to go fast because I'm running away from something, where love makes me unstoppable to be able to do all kinds of very productive things. And because because I've got that distinction, I said, well, at the end of if every good decision that I've ever made came from taking the time to do introspection, there has to be a better way to go. And so what I'm going to give you today is just a real simple system to ask that you can do as a daily practice. Because when we show up in a calm state, we can overcome all kinds of challenges. And here's a simple system. Number one, when you start to feel the slipping, if you know what I mean, just like in my story about the car, you can feel the slipping. Maybe feel the motivation going out the window. Feel the confidence kind of getting put to shreds or whatever. When you feel that, that's the indicator of the warning light that you're going down that fear road. And so what you want to do is stop and take a pit stop, just like a high performance car. Pit stop, pull in, take a pit stop daily, take a deep breath, pause, and do some gratitude and get yourself centered. And then ask yourself this one powerful question. And here's the power move. The question you want to ask is, okay, my warning light's on. I can feel the slipping. Am I right now running away from something, or am I running towards something I love? And if you're running away, you're thinking worst case scenario. And I want you to decide to flip it and show up as the real you, in your authentic version of you, where you're thinking from alignment with purpose and values, and get realigned to that again. Because when you do, you're going to show up with connection. You're going to make your relationships grow stronger, and all areas and aspects of life when you're able to connect and be present with people, not perfect. So I hope this video helps you to see what I saw, and to remember that if those dashboard lights are coming on, the problem is not the dashboard lights. The problem is the reaction. And think about if you can consciously see the patterns of driving to your drop instead of being in a flow till you glow, doing something that's meaningful with purpose. If you can recognize those two patterns, you can make the choice in the moment. I hope that helps.